and welcome to Career Mobility with James Mcilvena. It's the December edition. December 2022, James, here we are. We're ready to finish off the year. I'd love to hear where you're at and how you're feeling about the break coming up.
Yeah, look, I'm definitely very excited for the break. We are hosting, we're the hosting family this year with friends and family coming to us. So a little different to last year's break where it was a trip down to your location in Melbourne.
Yeah.
But look, just excited for a break. I'm not taking a super long one this year. I've actually used tail end of this year and started next year to book a couple of international holidays. So I'm just excited to get some people around, eat some good food, tell some good stories, have some good discussions and some good connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're very lucky here in Australia. As long as the weather's good, you can really just enjoy it and just kick back. And as you say, just catch up with people. And from a career mobility perspective, you know, it's a really wonderful time for people to be having those really sort of, you know, curious conversations with people in their networks and just sort of finding out what's happening with other people, because it's amazing what you can learn, isn't it, when you have those chats?
Look, absolutely. And the lead into Christmas for me personally has involved a number of catch-ups with old networks or ex-colleagues, which has been informal, but to the point you just made, that curious mindset of the majority of them are ex-colleagues who have now moved on. Some are in completely different industries, definitely with different companies in different types of roles, as am I, to when we used to work together. Yeah. And so not all networking is specific to, hey, who do you know, what opportunities out there. Some of it's information gathering. Like I just love the curiosity of finding out, you know, what people are enjoying about their new jobs, what they're not liking so much about their new jobs, different challenges industries are having and what the most important things are for them, because they're all looking at their planning for next year. And so I think this is the fact that curiosity is the key to these discussions. It doesn't have to be specific, and your barrier to entry when it comes to effective networking for anyone who is in job search mode or even career consideration mode can be ask the brother-in-law who started his own business, the elements of a startup. Even if you're never going to do it, get curious and use the opportunity to figure out as part of your journey at the moment, the what next. So I love it. It's a great time of year, and it actually, the more structured discussions you're having, probably the less it gets down to family quarrels or feats of strength.
Absolutely. You know, the interesting thing is, I mean, for me as well, it's been about, sort of school catch-ups. My daughter's graduating actually, year 6 this year, and having lots of catch-ups with other parents and things like that. And I'm amazed actually at how much I've learned from going to those catch-ups, but also how many people have moved jobs. I mean, obviously a lot of us were talking about the Great Resignation earlier in the year. And, where that's culminated to, as you said, is, really kind of interesting conversations about where people have moved to, what type of environment that is, as you say, whether they're really enjoying that or, what's working, what's not working. And again, it's all just, as you say, intel that gives you more of a sense of what, if you're in the transition process like our clients are, what's next for you, and really kind of thinking that through, because there are so many opportunities out there right now. It's a great time to kind of, just get behind the curtain a little bit and have those conversations, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the absolutes we hear from our customers are skilled immigration has still nowhere near picked up to pre-COVID levels. Yes, there are sort of more complicating factors around the amount of roles that are out there now, as everyone's looking at and waiting to see, will next year bring a recession, or what does it mean after all the interest rate rises and the measures to curb inflation. But the fact of the matter is, every customer I talk to is still talking about shortage of talent out there, and it's still out in market. And to the point you just made, there's still a lot of movement, right? I don't think we ever saw the Great Resignation to the degree they did in the US. But there is still an uncommonly high level of career mobility, either people moving and assessing what they want to do differently internally, or people actually changing employers.
Yeah, you made a good point earlier as well. Like for yourself, you're not planning a long break this year. What I'm also hearing in the market is that, people are going to be getting back to their sort of desks, only really taking a couple of weeks off because, with the Christmas falling on the Saturday, that really gives a week after Christmas, and then potentially people taking one further week off, meaning everyone's pretty much back in the office. The majority are back by sort of the 9th of January, which for Australia is quite unique. We're used to people taking almost the whole of January off at times. Or at least peppering their days through. So it's going to be interesting in January. We're still, as you say, seeing that career mobility, but potentially decision makers getting back earlier.
Absolutely. And a lot that I'm speaking to are actually back as of the 3rd. So
wow, there you go. Yeah.
So people do seem to be taking like a shorter break. But if I look at the dynamics of it, when we think about the overlay of everything that had happened in really second half of 2020 and then 2021, the Christmas break last year was like people with like one hell of a backlog of annual leave, still true. Inability to travel internationally to a huge number of places. And I definitely feel one of the things that has happened this year is people have been talking about how you actually make up for the fact that, a lot of key members of your team are off doing trips back to Europe because they can. And they're not 2-week trips, they're 4 or 5-week trips. And then part of the overall encompassing flexibility, right? The ability to allow people to do work from overseas while they're away, and that's only possible for some roles, by the way. But the reason why I mention any of that is because definitely this Christmas, when it comes to the availability of people and decision makers, the majority I'm speaking to have kind of used this year to do a few of those personal things, take holidays. I know we talked about the fact that I've done it myself, just to correct the balance. So there doesn't seem to be this, I've got to take 2-3 weeks over Christmas because I've just got to clear my headspace. But that being said, even with the shorter breaks, I still think most people are actually looking towards that reflection time and quiet time, even if it's not as extended as what it was last year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point as well. I mean, whilst networking and getting amongst, the crowds and the groups is great, as you said, sometimes that can culminate in some family politics, which we will try to avoid a little bit. It is a really great time as well over Christmas to just have that quiet time as well. And really just, there's so much information out there. If you want to kind of, click into that over Christmas, please do that. I mean, LinkedIn's obviously, as we always talk about, a great place to do that. So much great information practically daily. There's a great article, if not 3 or 4 that are worth reading in this space around mobility and sort of movement in the market. So it's definitely worth doing that, but also just having some you time. And just reflecting in that way as well.
Yeah, look, absolutely. It's one of the rare times a year other than holidays I actually get to catch up on some reading, backlog. It's the time I get to actually, even just the quiet time, sit and think and reflect on, things that I have achieved in the last year, gratitude for where things are at and the good things in life, but also think about, what you want to do from an objectives perspective, going to next year. But on top of that reflection, like also just some downtime. And I know that sounds strange when we talk specifically to an audience that is normally actually in our programs and going through career transition at the moment. But please, everyone, remember, if you haven't already taken the opportunity to take some time out, like it is like a full-time job trying to find a job. It is like a full-time job more than a full-time job if people are choosing a pathway to entrepreneurship and try and get something started up, right? So it's just as important for those people to be doing a refresh and taking some downtime. And hitting early January when people are returning, like with that bouncing their step and refreshed. And that doesn't happen if you just try and power through.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely time to hit the reset button for sure. Tomorrow, just for this audience, there's actually still webinars happening, obviously with LHH. I myself will be delivering one which is specifically around job search. So 7 top tips for the festive season. So if you haven't already booked onto that via CRN, please do. I would also just like to say, James, thank you so much for all the insights you've been sharing this year. It's been really such a pleasure to catch up with you on a monthly basis and just find out what you've been up to and understand, you know, the impacts, I guess, of, you know, what's happening in that senior level. So really appreciate it.
Not a problem. And look, I get to work with someone who's passionate about the outcomes we get for you know, the clients that we work with in our programs as you, and it makes it incredibly easy. So I'd love to firstly thank you for setting these up and making sure I have the opportunity to share. And then finally, you know, just wishing you and everyone who's been listening to the interactions we've been having this year, just wishing you like a really safe and happy Christmas, plenty of time to engage with family, friends, do some reflection, get some alone time, whatever floats your boat. Just make sure you're
sunshine.
using the time and having a good time. Yeah, everyone's looking forward to a bit of sunshine and a bit of downtime.
Yeah,
so,
no, absolutely.
Yeah, very, very Merry Christmas season to you and to all those who actually tune in and watch these.
Fantastic. And I'll just sort of wrap up by this Christmas present by saying, you know, next year we'll actually be kicking off in February. January obviously is an interesting time. It's definitely busy at the moment, lots happening in our industry. So we will be coming back to you with career mobility kicking off in February 2023 with some, you know, new updates on what's happening in the market. So very much look forward to seeing you all then and wish you all a very, very warm and happy Christmas season.